Oh, that's better.
That is
That is a lot better.
That is much better.
That is much better. If I talk like...
What if I talk like this?
Good.
That works pretty too. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of STS. I'm Tom. This is Scrapeface.
I was just telling Derek before we started recording that if this was an actual show, I would not be allowed on television.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or they'd be using a lot of makeup or something, which we don't have.
Well, Josh had to leave set because he was working on set,
Yeah.
and they were like, "You can't work."
Get out of here, Scareface.
Get out of here, Scareface. Oh, that's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I haven't started this timer, so I'm gonna start it now.
Okay.
We might not even make it all the way.
Okay.
This might be a short enough episode for it.
Good. Keep watching. It's gonna be short and quick.
First up, I'm angry. Are you angry?
Yeah.
I'm pretty peed off.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about this show actually, because I don't feel like it is news that affects all of us for sure. It affects everybody, but it's not like big parkour things happening this week, and that's kind of the funny thing about recording this all the time is we're trying to come up with things to have conversations about that we think everyone will be interested in, and this is one of those where I think it's definitely interesting, but it's not. Again, it's not a big thing in parkour, but maybe you can.
Our boy Seth Muffinson.
Sid Mohorovich.
Oh, that's his name.
Vich?
Sid Mohorovich.
Okay.
From Bellingham, Washington, which is only like an hour and a half south of here. He comes up like all the time because it's closer than any other major parkour community, and we're cool, so he likes to hang out with cool people. But
Mostly he has no friends though.
Mostly he just doesn't have many friends. We're his friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got rejected from the border. They turned him around. And I'm pretty pissed off about it because it's just that he's just an 18-year-old kid who wants to train and improve, and they're basically preventing that from happening. I mean, he can train in his hometown by himself on the 3 spots that exist in Bellingham.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he's basically been rejected from Canada until we can sort this mess out by like writing a letter and him
doing. He has to prove. So he was stopped because they felt that he might be coming up to Canada to do work.
Right.
He said, I'm gonna go film some videos with some friends. I think is what he ended up, because he probably said he was doing parkour, and it might have been one of those border officers that doesn't know what parkour was or asked for more information, and then he said something about filming videos, and then filming videos is marketing. And even though it's just stuff he's going to post on his Instagram.
Yeah.
No, and so
it's ridiculous.
It's
such a ridiculous concept to like, because I mean, filming videos and like and training with friends and traveling is such a big part of parkour culture, and everyone likes to do it. and the fact that he's being basically denied to engage in parkour culture is just such a ridiculous concept, and I'm really having trouble wrapping my head around it.
It's just how kind of lost the system is when this is
it's totally working against the people.
They're not catching a drug dealer. They're not stopping.
They're not stopping a terrorist. He's not trying to live here permanently by like sneaking across the border. He's just a kid who wants to train with his friends and then film some videos.
Anyway, I wanted to read this comment because we made a post on Origin's Facebook just about this whole ordeal, and just asking if anyone has any. So I got some information now about how to get Sid across. Although apparently he's flagged now, so he's gonna have trouble pretty much every time. But Actually, this comment just kind of came out this morning. Not correct. I am an ex-border officer He was deemed a non-genuine visitor. It is the traveler, not the border officer, that must prove intent while visiting the country. Attempting to re-enter without doing as requested can cause more problems. Rather than get upset at the border officer, perhaps educate yourselves that you are entering a foreign country. And then I wrote a book on cross-border travel for that purpose.
Oh, nice.
This is Luciano Nisi.
Okay, Luciano Nisi, about that educating ourselves on how to cross a border. This kid has crossed the border how many times to come visit us?
Yeah.
And has never had a problem.
Yeah.
Never had a problem. He's never worked in this country. He's never had a problem. So Luciano Nisi, seriously, shove that book straight up your, ass. There we go.
There, you said it. Okay, this is not exactly a kid's show, anyways.
No, it's absurd, and that the fact that anybody is defending this type of behavior by a border officer is, it's really infuriating. That's the only way I can put it.
When you called me when you found out that Sid had been stopped, you were quite livid on the phone.
I said I was livid, and I was shouting.
Yes.
You probably had to hold your phone out to hear. A few things get me riled up, like government incompetence, which is actually a really redundant couple of words.
You want to elaborate on that a bit, or should we move on?
It might get me into trouble with
gonna
all
take a while.
the burners. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay. So we should just move on because I'm just gonna get more angry and more upset at this whole scenario the more we talk about it.
Anyway, we're working on getting Sid back over here. I was hoping to post a photo the next day and be like, "We got him."
Yeah, we got him back.
But no, instead we just had a sad weekend.
Yeah. Okay. Topic 2. Inner Mastery Seminar. We'll do that one. So Dylan Baker, his seminar on fear and overcoming fear. That happened this weekend. I'm assuming I think it was only just a couple days, right? It was 2 days. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, we weren't there. So that's the end of that topic.
It's a great show.
Yeah, we're excellent.
Here's what happened. That's it.
We weren't really there for it.
But there's some interesting stuff just about, I think, bringing this up, because no one else is covering that kind of topic in that kind of way in parkour.
Yeah, he's definitely opened up, or found like a niche idea to really delve into, which is cool, and I think I would have liked to be there actually.
Yeah.
To be honest,
No,
I would have liked to be there.
Yeah, it's plane ticket plus seminar ticket
Plus time.
plus time not working.
Plus, not making money during that period.
But I think it sold out. I'm just gonna say it did.
Sounds better
Sold out.
for him.
Congratulations.
Good job, Dylan. You sold out your entire event.
Yeah.
Great success.
It's
apparently it snowed there too, like on a couple days. So.
But you know how I think with like the Parkour Visions, they used to do
the summit,
and that was kind of the goal, was make it kind of a seminar, but it never really felt that way. It always felt like someone had scrambled some ideas together for an hour presentation that they were going to do in front of everyone, and it was like a show and tell. And it was really just a show and tell for kids. But it's just kind of cool to see someone take that to a new level of sophistication, because it does a lot for parkour, and to be successful with it, right?
Yeah. Whoa. We weren't there. I don't know how successful
I just said it sold out.
Oh, sorry.
That's successful.
Right? Yeah, no, I think this is actually a problem in the parkour world right now, in the parkour industry. We're gonna go ahead and say that word because there's so many people out there trying to make a living with parkour, and a lot of them are just athletes who, kind of know some stuff and like do some stuff, and then they have a name attached to them, and then they're invited to do seminars on whatever their specialty is.
Yeah.
And then they show up to the seminar and they really don't know what they're going to teach. They're just kind of like half-assing it, and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to ride this out like on my name and reputation and hope that people just absorb just hope that people continue to respect me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really, like, the types of people that need to be putting seminars together are the type of people that actually really care about disseminating information, actually really care about teaching people, coaching people, and informing people on like good training methods or training concepts or ideas about the parkour world, instead of, like haphazardly like getting together like some stuff or making it up on the spot. Yeah, that's that. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Because there are people out there who really care about what they're doing and want to share it with the world, and those people are actually often not necessarily getting the type of work for that. Yeah, they're not going to be. They're not being able to teach it when somebody else with just a name and some credentials are able to.
And it's
get.
It's a problem in any sport, or it really is. You get someone who has these credentials but isn't really changing what they're doing, or trying to grow, or trying to put a lot more thought into what they're doing. They're just kind of riding off of what was successful once or whatever, or just sheer luck sometimes.
Yeah.
You'll get a coach who just happens to coach a team who comes from a great gene pool, and they go out from there. So, yeah, it's in every sport. I don't know if there's really a solution for it in parkour. I always feel like with parkour, everyone always feels like, oh, we can make it different. We can make it different because we can learn from these other things. And in a lot of ways we can, as long as we can, but it's a lot of these are just like society problems and what we value and look at as like, oh, this is the real deal, without really looking into whether or not it actually is. Yeah. I also wanted to bring up on the same topic, Max Henry was getting a little bit of heat from a post he made, kind of along the same lines of this, and it's funny because I felt like it was very justified, and he should just think a little bit more about the kind of post he
was
makes.
Justified?
No, the response, the critical response was justified. It was absolutely fair and justified, and people freak out because they love Max, and they you can't say something without being a hater. It's okay because Max doesn't watch the show, so we can talk about it. But
I'm just gonna read his post.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, here it is. Okay, day 1 of Dylan's inner mastery was crazy, yo. My homie was dropping some life-changing knowledge, but actually, hot damn, Dylan has put more research into fear than almost anyone has put into anything inside or outside the parkour community. If you don't sign up for this program on parkourdojo.com and you have the money, you're a silly goose.
Yeah, and I understand like the lightheartedness of that post and everything.
Yeah.
But it's just you can't say he's put more work into it than anyone into anything.
Yeah.
That is. I don't know how much work Dylan has put into that, but I can tell you that's not true.
Yeah. Well, like all the criticism was like, oh, but like, what about like people who have like doctorates in things, right? Like who spent like years putting research into a single topic and like being so ridiculously refined in that topic. Like Dylan, I'm sure has put a lot of work into this, but he's also put a lot of work into also training parkour and he's also probably put a lot of work into other avenues of his life, like not necessarily just like fear and performance in, you know, high stress scenarios. Right?
Yeah. And again, like, let's be clear, like, these are not Dylan's words.
No, yeah. So they're
These are his hype man's words.
yeah. I mean, like I read it, and I read the status, and I did not at all like think like, oh, that's not true, I have to correct it. But
Yeah,
then,
'cause
like, when I
he's-
read the comments, I was like laughing about it because like the guy who like initially criticized Max, you know, he was kind of arguing and just like consistently arguing. I was like, just drop it, man. He really wasn't being that serious. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, yeah, but like, it is important to call people on bullshit. I think.
And it's a serious event.
It
And
is.
If you're gonna
yeah,
be,
true.
I would, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but we weren't there.
No.
It could have been a joke.
Yeah.
It could have been just a joke.
Yeah. It brought up to me the just the concept of like, so Dylan has all these ideas about fear.
Yeah.
And he is you know, claiming he's backing it with research. But that's exactly what a student does when you're, you know, coming up with a thesis, which you've done recently.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, kind of how that works. So you actually did it was right, it's called a thesis? Or your
No, actually, because I changed my program about halfway through. It ended up being it's called a major paper, so it's like
Okay.
basically like, yeah, it's just on. I got to choose a topic on basically coaching that I wanted to pick, and yeah.
Yeah,
So.
and it was around parkour.
It was on parkour. Yes.
And you had some ideas you tried to back with research.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
But how did that go with the final presentation?
Well, so here's the thing, though. Actually, it wasn't necessarily like that. I was taking ideas and trying to back it with research. What I actually ended up doing was I took existing research and then I applied it.
Right.
And then I took existing research and I was like, okay, like this, I took what is already existing in the literature, and I was like, okay, well, how is this applied to parkour? And then I basically translated it onto parkour, and it incredibly it aligned with things that I already understood as a coach, and so it worked out really well because the research that I chose to work with. It makes sense intuitively with my own coaching philosophy. So.
Okay. I'm gonna rephrase my question.
A little bit different than
I'm gonna rephrase my question. When someone presents, what happens when, like, it's not what happens when, but is there ever times where basically someone will try to use research to back an idea and it doesn't actually align?
Yeah, for sure.
Like all the time?
Yeah, well, yeah, because you're trying to fit like the world into your ideas, instead of just like working from like existing knowledge and building off of existing knowledge. Instead, you're just kind of like, okay, here's my idea, and then like let's see what fits or what backs that idea up. And so you might look to research to back that idea up. That's technically like a confirmation bias. So you're basically cherry picking things to fit your worldview, which you can usually find like in pretty much anything. Like there's a way to make it sound like you know. So this is actually making Dylan sound really bad right now. So.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, it's not the goal, but I think it's the like. You do not think this affects like the parkour world at large?
Oh yeah, for sure. It affects everyone.
Because we're talking about you know, someone who has maybe some sort of credential, but didn't put a lot of work into doing a presentation, and then someone like Dylan who did maybe did put a lot of work into and maybe doesn't get the same attendance to his event or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was because he chose to make this a separate event. instead of like tacking it on to some other major event like a jam or a competition or
Well,
whatever it is.
he's doing a shorter presentation at Tit Jam and at Beast Coast.
Right.
So
Right.
and
Well-
then he's putting he's putting the stuff from this one on. I think it's probably was just too long. He wanted to make it a full
Well,
2-day thing.
what he I don't know. I don't know if this would have been a better strategy, but maybe he should have done those events first to like generate more interest. Although he might have you said he sold out, so I don't know if that's actually true. If he did actually sell out all of the tickets, then that's great. But if he would have done the presentations at other events first to just like build buy-in to his ideas, then he could have taken that and just delayed his seminar for a potentially wider audience. Or anyway,
he also needs the typical things where like if you're trying to sell someone a program like on Parkour Dojo, testimonials and results. Again, there's a lot of people that I think in parkour that will use the word research and say I've done research and I have and people just I think in parkour right now everyone just values experience.
Yeah, true.
Like the whole reason why I think the Yamakasi or the parkour generations used to be looked at so highly is because they have the most experience, so they must know the most. And it's like, well, about certain things, sure, I'm sure there's a lot you could learn there, but there's certainly some things that they could potentially do wrong.
The sport has like evolved so much since their time. So, I would argue a lot of people nowadays have more knowledge about technique than the Yamakasi do, and that's just because it's evolved and it's a different sport today than it used to be. Interesting.
It's interesting times.
Interesting times indeed. I hope more seminars like this happen. Intermastery was a really cool concept, and I wish I could have gone. I'll try to check out the footage they got of the event to learn more. I have to sign up for Parkour Dojo's email list.
Yeah. I think what I would like to see from people asking for money for seminars and things, and because it's not a great sales pitch to be like, I'm awesome, I put in some hard work, buy this thing that's going to make you awesome, right? You need other people that are saying, I did this program and it was great, and maybe you got to do some free stuff for that, right?
Yeah, actually, that's
results. Results basically.
That's
is what
I was about to say. That's one thing I was curious about. Is like because we were talking about this the other day, but Dylan, Dylan it's very clear that he is a master of his own domain. He's able to put what he wants to do into practice and he does conquer fear really well. He is the most composed athlete I've ever seen, right? Just generally speaking. But the problem is, he's talking about this fear program or this program based around like conquering your fears. But how many people has he actually accomplished that with outside of his own thoughts, right?
Yeah.
We don't know that. He's never said like, I trained this person to do this, or nobody's come forward and said, Dylan helped me conquer this fear or whatever, right?
There might be a little bit of evidence of that, but it's the kind of stuff he should be putting on the website.
Yeah.
It's just like basic sales. It's like
okay, let's stop giving him ideas because we could do that all day.
I just want to say when you take things to scale, like I have trouble with that. I'll have ideas that I can make successful with one person or a small group of people, but when you want to take it to scale, things change because you're introduced to different populations and things too, right?
Yeah.
So. Last topic.
Yeah, we're just about out of time. So.
We're on the topic of seminars, and there's an event coming up that has a lot of them. Beast Coast.
Beast
Coast. See what beast.
I've never been to Beast Coast.
I never have either.
So we're going?
We're going now.
We're going.
We totally said on the last episode we weren't going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But now see you at Beast.
See you at Beast. Yeah, that was weak.
That was really weak. It's okay. Well, this isn't the official See You at Beast
Yeah,
video.
we'll make a better one later.
Mm.
Cool. I'm excited about it. I haven't been to DC since I was like a kid. I think I was in high school last time. I was in Washington DC.
Mhm.
I hear that, it's the nation's capital.
Nice. Wow. Great. I'm that's an event that gets bigger every year, and we talked about it before about the build out and everything being huge. They advertise it as the biggest build out that happens.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be cool.
It really is.
I'm excited to see bunch of the people that are gonna be there. Excited for the opportunity to do a little workshop of my own. What are you gonna be talking about? What are you gonna be workshopping?
Well, I haven't cleared it yet with Mark, but
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah.
Teaching diving and threading.
Nice.
And fitting through tight spaces. Kind of my specialty.
Yeah, which you have some testimonials for, I think.
Yeah. Well, I recently taught a workshop specifically on that at with actually a group of like Systema practitioners, which is actually really cool. They picked it up pretty well, and they were an interesting group of people. But yeah, I really like fitting through tight spaces, and I could teach you really well based on my expertise.
You've taught me. So,
I have?
yeah.
Awesome.
Although I mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
Not as good as you.
There's my testimonial.
There you go. There's one.
Um,
I am better at getting through tight things having trained with Tom than.
it's cool because it's cool because coaching here, it's like we got to really explore that and experiment with different ideas, and like there's some students who just like really took to it and really wanted to do that. Like originally, for a while, like Ollie was doing like thread rolls
all the
like
dive
all
rolls
the
in the
time,
gym,
like everyone that he can find in the gym, which was really cool. I don't know if I had an effect on Alyssa, but she tends to see like thread rolls and stuff as part of her repertoire, which is cool. Yeah, I think training with Max Henry, he might give me a testimonial on that, because he's working on like thread cons and stuff. But maybe not after this episode when we were kind of telling him that the heat he got was justified.
I told you he doesn't watch.
He doesn't watch?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, he doesn't watch.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right then. I like Max Henry. He's a good dude, but some things he says is funny.
I think he needs to learn about how public he is.
Yeah,
it's the main thing. No, and it's true, because like the more he wants to be public, the more he wants to be an athlete, the more he's got to understand that before I send this out, how is this going to be interpreted? Because that's the name of the game. Okay.
Before we send this out, we should make sure we review it just in case.
No, I don't.
No? You don't care. Don't want to. All right. Are we done?
We're done.
We're done.
We're done here. See you next week.